I like Ash Ketchum's battles, so I was thinking, what if there were more? In Ash's journeys after the Mazase Pokemon Master Series, he's clearly going to be meeting more trainers and fighting them. So here I have a wheel of almost 100 random Pokemon characters. I'm gonna spin it 5 times, and those characters will be the ones Ash fights. All of them will be 3v3s with reserves allowed, so I guess let's just see where this takes us. Alright, so let's see who we get first. Rika? Oh hell yeah, let's write a Paldea fight. Sometime in Ash's travels, he encounters the Elite Four member and challenges her to a battle. Ash sends out Weasel, and Rika sends out Flygon. Weasel lands good damage with Ice Punch, but is struggling with an opponent in the air, so Ash calls for his new move Flip Turn, which sends Weasel back to the Pokeball. Then Ash sends in Gliscor, and Rika complements his ground type. The two engage in an aerial fight, where a Giga Impact and Dragon Rush collision eventually ends in a tie. Ash sends out Glalie, and Rika sends in Dugtrio. Ash's ice moves are off to a great start, but it becomes tricky when Dugtrio disappears underground and launches attacks from there. Ash comes up with an insane counter and has Glalie fly right into the hole Dugtrio made and fill it up with an Ice Beam. A frozen Dugtrio emerges to the surface and Glalie wins. Rika sends in her final Pokemon, Clodsire. Glalie starts attacking, but is clearly tired from the previous fight. Ash calls for a surprising move and has Glalie use Rain Dance, which it pulls off, but leaves Glalie exposed for Clodsire to take it out. Rika realizes what he's planning as Ash sends in Weasel, and the rain activates its Swift Swim ability. Ash commands a lightning fast Aqua Jet, but Rika doesn't put in any effort to dodge. Clodsire takes the attack and reveals its Water Absorb ability, healing any damage from Glalie. Ash is shocked, but wastes no time in commanding an Ice Punch, which heavily damages Clodsire. It fights back though, and Weasel takes a ton of damage too. Ash states he's gonna finish it, and calls for Aqua Jet. Rika gets confused by what it's planning, but Ash then commands Weasel to use Ice Punch while in the Aqua Jet, turning into Ice Aqua Jet. This scores a super effective hit on Clodsire, taking it out. Rika recalls her final Pokemon, and congratulates Ash on his victory. We got Karina? To be honest, I always thought they would have a rematch when Ash's Riolu evolved into Lucario, so I guess I'll write it. After meeting up with Karina, the two decide to battle again. Ash first sends out Infernape and Karina uses her Chestnut, becoming a battle of fighting type starters. The two engage in hand-to-hand combat, and both deal a ton of damage, until a point-blank flamethrower takes out Chestnut. Karina surprisingly sends out her Lucario, and while Infernape fights back, Lucario's Bone Rush takes it out. Ash sends out his Lucario to counter Karina's, saying it would be great to show off both of their true strengths. Karina surprisingly returns her Lucario, saying she wanted to bait Ash's out, and then sends in her Machamp. Ash still wants to save his Mega Evolution to fight Karina's Lucario, so he decides to fight with base Lucario to defeat her Machamp. Karina keeps Machamp away, trying to use Focus Blasts to whittle down Lucario. However, Lucario evades with Double Team and gets in close, forcing the physical fight. As the two enter a brawl, Ash uses everything he's learned from fighting B's Machamp and defeats Karina's. Karina has no choice but to send her Lucario back in and Mega Evolves it. However, Ash can tell how worn down his Lucario is, and reluctantly switches it, saying he'll have to use a different battle technique to win. He sends out Incineroar, and equips his Z-Ring. Incineroar goes straight in with Darkest Lariat, and enters a climactic fight with Mega Lucario. Ash's plan is to wait for the perfect time to unleash the Z-move, and defeat Lucario with it. But as the fight continues, Incineroar keeps up the momentum and does a ton of damage, but Lucario matches it, and Ash can't find a right moment to use it. As Lucario gets weakened, Ash decides to go for the Z-move, but second guesses the timing, and Lucario takes out Incineroar as Ash tries to equip the Z-Crystal. Ash, backed into a corner, exclaims he's gonna have to try something new on the fly. He sends out his own Lucario, equips the Celium Z, and syncs up with Lucario's Aura, sending Corkscrew Crash right at Karina's already weakened Lucario, defeating it. Round 3, here we go. Peony? Well, it's a shame he never appeared in the anime, so let's roll with it. In an adventure, Ash meets the retired gym leader and champion and challenges him to a battle. Let's just say this happens somewhere in Galar so both can Dynamax. Ash starts with Heracross and Peony with Scizor. The Bugs battle is intense, and eventually Peony uses U-turn to save Scizor for later. He sends in Copperajah, which Heracross has a hard time damaging, so Ash swaps it out. He sends in Melmetal, claiming the best way to defeat a wall is with one of his own. The two engage in a slow but steady fight, which ramps up when Peony Gigantamaxes his Pokemon. Ash fights with Double Iron Bash, but decides he needs to Dynamax to match it. Ash is surprised to see G-Max Melmetal, but rolls with it and engages in a giant fight with Copperajah. In the end, Copperajah returns to its normal size, and Melmetal finishes it off with G-Max Meltdown. Peony sends out Berserker and Melmetal returns to normal size, where Melmetal attacks with Double Iron Bash, but Peony commands for Metal Burst which counters and defeats Melmetal. Ash sends in a surprise team member, revealing Tauros, and engages in battle with Berserker. The two use a ton of physical attacks, and Tauros powers through Metal Burst to cause both of them damage. In the end, it's a tie. Finally, Heracross and Scizor come back out to finish the battle they started, where a final Focus Punch takes out Scizor. Ash shakes hands with Peony and celebrates his win. And now we got... Jimmy? He's the anime version of Ethan, and it's honestly a shame he never appeared in the main series. So here's a 3v3 if him and Ash ever met. Ash sends in Squirtle and Jimmy uses Sunflora. Squirtle holds his own for a while, but when Sunflora uses Sunny Day, Ash decides to swap out Squirtle. He sends in Bulbasaur, and the two of them use Solar Beam, which clash. Bulbasaur's is stronger and defeats Sunflora. Ash swaps into Charizard and Jimmy uses Azumarill, where they engage in an epic fight. Charizard flies around to avoid water attacks, and in the end, Seismic tosses Azumarill to win. Jimmy sends out Typhlosion, and it quickly takes out the weakened Charizard. Ash sends in Squirtle, who was weakened from earlier, but puts up a good fight before going down. Finally is Bulbasaur versus Typhlosion, where it uses Vine Whip to restrain Typhlosion and finish it off with Solar Beam. The two trainers thank each other for a fun fight and go their separate ways. Alright, and here's the final one, so... No way! Okay, I can work with this. Let's say in the Pokemon World Championships, the Magikarp salesman reveals he's an insanely strong trainer, and challenges Ash to a battle for the title of World Monarch. They decide to go all out, and use all three gimmicks in their 3v3 to make it as insane as possible. Ash brings some of his strongest partners, and they get ready for the hardest battle of his life. Ash sends in Snorlax as Salesman uses Jumpluff. The Salesman immediately pulls out his Z-Ring and uses Z-Splash, which actually powers up Jumpluff a ton. Ash's Snorlax goes all out and they fight on equal footing, where neither give in and they do a ton of damage. Ash realizes to win he has to power up and Gigantamaxes Snorlax to take out Jumpluff. Salesman then sends out Victory Bell, and when Snorlax tries to use G-Max Replenish, Victory Bell uses Thief to steal Snorlax's berry and power up, and then defeats Snorlax. Ash is shocked by the play, but sends in Charizard to keep up the assault. Eventually it becomes a fight of Mega Evolution versus Dynamax, where the two trainers use an insane amount of power and eventually tie. The two send out their final aces. Ash uses Pikachu, and Salesman sends out his super-powered Red Gyarados, the perfected form of Magikarp. Salesman Mega Evolves it, and Ash immediately uses his Z-move. The attack doesn't take out Gyarados, but does a bit of damage, and also increases Pikachu's critical hit ratio and his strength. The two engage in an insane fight, the craziest of the entire anime, going on for 18 straight episodes. Finally, Pikachu, powered up to the max, shoots an insane Thunderbolt straight through Gyarados' mouth, and finally defeats it. Salesman accepts that he's only the second strongest trainer. Ash congratulates Pikachu, and I question my life choices. Gonna be honest, I have no idea what the hell I just wrote. What in the heck was that script? What is this video? Anyway, if you somehow made it to the end, thank you. If you want to continue the conversation with me, check the description for links to my social media, consider subscribing, and maybe I'll see you in the next one.